colony back in 1893. Who can these people be? In the middle of the sea, sing a song of sovereignty. Aohimalahini. She ruled her people with grace and dignity, showing all the world the importance of unity. Oni pa'a, our motto until we die. Any enemy of Hawaii is an enemy of mine.
That to remind ourselves that one or two of us, we're not going to do it. All of us together, we'll get it done. All right. So,
Kuikapono, stand in the truth or justice. Kuha'aheo, stand proudly. Kueikahema, resist injustice. And it says, stand proud, stand in the truth, resist injustice. Kueku, stand, act.
So, let us talk a little bit about the Ku'e petitions. Ku'e, that resisted the takeover of Hawaii by the United States. We have a couple of people here. I wanted to share information with you. One is Leon Siu.
As you all know, and it has been explained, Hawaii is still a kingdom, still the Hawaiian kingdom. The Hawaiian kingdom still exists. There was no takeover except for just taking over the government part of it. By the United States. What they did was they maha'oi and they supplanted what was already here, but they never were able to extinguish the fact that Hawaii is still a sovereign nation. So, as a result, the U.S. of course proceeded to convince everybody, to indoctrinate, propagandize everybody into believing that the U.S. was here lawfully over many years. But in recent years, the last 30, 40 years, we actually have been able to reclaim or rediscover who we are, and that our nation still exists, and if our nation exists, then its people still exist too. So many of us have reasserted the fact that we are not U.S. citizens as we had been led to believe. We are actually Hawaiian nationals. We're citizens or subjects of the Hawaiian kingdom. And we're kind of living in a situation where the occupying force is trying to force us into complying to their standards and to their government, but we're resisting. As part of that resistance, when the Hawaiian Kingdom was in existence, it was a full-fledged country, just like any other country. We participated in the international scene. We had diplomats all over the world, over 90 diplomatic legations around the world. We had treaties with 46 other nations, all the major nations of the world at that time. And so we are, as the Hawaiian Kingdom, we still have that ability and that kuleana to maintain. That is, we still are a sovereign, independent nation, and we can still function as such, except for the fact that the U.S. is standing in our way. Okay, but we can get around that or through that because we can still assert who we are, and if we do so, the U.S. actually eventually has to acknowledge it and step aside. Now, along the way, they've already acknowledged that they're here illegally. In 1993, there was a apology resolution that was passed by Congress, and it's now Public Law 103-150. That's one that President Clinton signed. But even 100 years earlier, President Grover Cleveland, who was president at the time, basically said that the United States presence in Hawaii is patently illegal. It is totally illegal. They had no right being here. And unfortunately, they didn't move to correct that problem, and so that's why the U.S. stayed and eventually took over. But we are fighting now to assert our rights. So many of us are standing up and saying, we are the remnants, we are those remaining from the Hawaiian Kingdom, and there are many, many others who still have not realized that position that we have as Hawaiian nationals. So if we stand up together as a nation, then we will be able to reclaim our nation. Now that's the people themselves reclaiming the nation. Meanwhile, on the political and on the legal standpoint, we have a number of opportunities that we can use in international courts as well as the international political arena, like the United Nations, to regain their recognition of us as a legitimate sovereign nation. And so what I've been doing in particular is spending a lot of time at the United Nations, basically talking story to the people there, just telling them about our situation. I'm not the first to do so. There have been many others for the last 40 years have been talking to the United Nations. Whatever place we can access in the United Nations or at the World Court or at the European Union and any of these organizations, there have been Hawaiians there asserting the fact that the Hawaiian Kingdom still exists, but it's being dominated, it's being occupied by the United States. So more and more people in the foreign arena, those that are involved in international law and those involved in international relations, diplomats and people like that, are becoming aware of our situation. And Hawaii is actually gaining quite a bit of support from the standpoint like people understand and they sympathize with our situation. But the United Nations in particular is an organization made of many, many nations. There are 193 member states of the United Nations. These are member nations. And back when they started in 1946, the United Nations had only 55 members. So that means 3/4 of the membership today are countries that have either reclaimed their sovereignty or have gained their sovereignty because they used to be colonies under other countries. So we are actually in a pretty good situation because the world is not unfamiliar with the fact that a country can assert itself and gain its footing back again as an independent nation. So we're not the first to do so, but we are kind of unique in many ways in that we never lost our sovereignty. And we had international relations, solid international relations all around the world prior to the United States sort of injecting itself into our affairs. So at the United Nations, we are not only reawakening awareness, we've actually submitted a number of petitions to cause different United Nations mechanisms, bodies, or investigative bodies to start the process into looking into the legality of the United States presence in Hawaii. So I'm working more on the political area, getting people interested in our case and getting them to move on some petitions that we have placed before various bodies of the United Nations. And I'd like to report that as of last year, we've got some really positive signs. So we're looking at probably a breakthrough within the next year where the United Nations will take it up as an issue And the moment they do that, the United States is put at a tremendous disadvantage because it cannot prove it is here lawfully. You know, once the question is raised, it's done for them. It's just really a matter of negotiations at that part as to how soon and how gracefully they're going to withdraw. Because international law, everything else is on our side. Now, there's a lot of details and a lot of, you know, just the things that have to be worked out. That'll take some time. But the turning point will be when the world body like the United Nations actually begins to recognize that the United States is here unlawfully, illegally. So we need your kokua, and if you, those of you interested in reclaiming, if you're not a Hawaiian national already, many of you have been pegged as U.S. citizens. Most of you without your consent or without your knowledge about your options to become a Hawaiian national. But I urge you to study the situation, think about it, and see who you want to identify with. Are you a U.S. citizen or are you a Hawaiian national?
Back in 1893, who can these people be? In the middle of the sea, sing a song of sovereignty, Aohe Malahini. She ruled her people with grace and dignity, showing all the world the importance of unity. Oni pa'a, our motto until we die. Any enemy of Hawaii is an enemy of mine.
Kamahaoka when I say Hawaiian, you say pride.
I'm a true born Hawaiian.
Yo, from the Polynesian party to the Paradise Fire, doing Hawaiian music with the modern day sense. Pakalo, Dynamite,
Dawa, the rapper Nui, Navai Ho'olu, okay, I know we knew it.
the Hui,
Kanaka, Olivi, just like Navai.
Girly, girly.
Kalana na pua o Hawaii nei, say ku, eh.